Okay, as I said before, we're going to start off with the first unit, probably one of the most basic units, the Warrior. No longer this Dark Eldar Warriors, they're called Cabal-like Warriors.
Same thing.
Fancy name, same thing. Still pretty much the same unit they were from 3rd edition. Nice little stat line.
Let's just go 4.
Still Strength 3, Toughness 3, obviously. Initiative 5. Leadership 9 with their Sergeant upgrade. They have access to the Splinter Cannon.
Which is, by the way, I didn't know what to expect when he brought that on the field. The first time I got shot at with a Strength 6, or a Heavy 6, least to say I never left the guard squad out in the open again. That was a horrifying experience.
Yeah, the Splinter Cannon can now be fired in 2 ways. It's either Assault 4 or Heavy 6. Doesn't change the range either way. It's still 24-inch range either way. It's poisoned 4+, AP 5. It's a good little upgrade for the unit, especially if you've got one in a Raider.
Good.
They still have access to the Blaster, which they made better in this edition. They increased it from range 12 to range 18. It's still Strength 8, AP 2, Lance. They made it better. The Shredder is Strength 6, AP nothing, Small Blast, no pinning anymore. It is now officially useless. It has no purpose in the army as far as I'm concerned. People can say, oh, you can use it against horde armies and stuff like that. You got a lot of orcs. You want to hit targets like that. Well, honestly, I don't give a shit. Against armies that have swarms and stuff like that, I'll use the blaster against. Now that Tyranids suffer instant death, I'll shoot warriors with it. I'll shoot knobs with it. I'm not going to waste a bunch of points on a blaster. On a shredder. When the blaster kills tanks and terminators and heavily armored infantry very well.
What about guard?
Well, everything's overkill for them on shooting splinter rifles. The splinter rifle, much to my disappointment, was not Assault 2 like I was expecting. It's still rapid fire, but it's poisoned 4+, and that's the basic weapon of the Warriors. Good weapon, wounds everything on a 4+. Artifacts, Plague Marines, Imperial Guardsmen, it doesn't matter. You wound it on a 4+. It's AP 5. Splinter.
Isn't there a hero or someone in that book that gives poison on 2+ for ranged weapons, or is it the Archon's unit only?
There's an Archon upgrade that lets his poison weapons wound on a 2+, but that's we'll talk about the Court of the Archon in a little while. Warriors can also get Dark Lances still, and as for the recent changes that GW's been making, it's the normal, for every such and such models, you can take another heavy weapon, or you can take another special weapon, and stuff like that. In the case of warrior squads, you can always only take one special weapon. Doesn't matter how many guys you have in there, you're only allowed one blaster or one shredder. For every 10 models, you can take a splinter cannon or a dark lance. So a sniper squad, which I do field one, has 2 dark lances and a blaster. The raider squads I field have a splinter cannon and a blaster. Works out really well.
Unless I'm fielding hellhounds.
And then the Cabal-like Trueborn, which is the new elite choice. It's basically a warrior squad, but with more access to special weapons. The entire squad can take 4 blasters or shredders.
And I do believe they have one more attack as well.
I believe so, but it's not one of my favorite units. Yeah, they have an additional attack, and their leadership 9 without a sergeant in the unit, but
still not a unit you'd want to use a charge for, but
no,
last ditch.
No,
they can change a course.
Warriors are still not spectacular in close combat. You can give your sergeant a power weapon and agonizer and all that, but he's the only one that's going to be hurting anything. And then there's the other troop choice, which very excited about this being just a basic troop choice without any bells or whistles, without any need to take anything, which is witches. They dropped them 2 points a model. They're 10 points a model now, and they gave them a spectacular array of new witch weapons, which went back to the old rules. They're no longer the 3.5 Dark Eldar book rules of if I'm in base contact with you, I have your weapon skill. You don't get the benefit of additional close combat weapons. Now they have the Hydra Gauntlet, the Razor Flail, and the Shard Net and Impaler. My personal favorite is the Hydra Gauntlet.
And it's pretty fucking nasty.
For D6 extra attacks.
And 3 models in a full witch squad can take them.
And I feel my witch squads and squads of 15, so I do have 3 Hydra Gauntlets in the units. The squad leader, the Succubus, or the Hecatrix actually, is how it's called, can take Agonizer still, pretty much a standard for me. I need something to kill heavily armored people. Witches still have a hard time against stuff like Marines and stuff like that, but they don't do so bad. The Shard Net and Impaler, for every model of base contact with someone that has the Shard Net and Impaler, you get 1 less attack, to a minimum of 1, obviously.
Which doesn't help against most armies, but against another melee heavy army it would be probably pretty spectacular.
The Hydra Gauntlet, instead of getting +1 attack for additional, it's plus D6. And then the Razor Flails, they're okay. You get to reroll failed to hit and to wound rolls in close combat. Not a bad little upgrade, but I mean, I like the extra attacks more. The unit still has the dodge rule, which is the 4+ invulnerable save in close combat, or against close combat attacks. It's not while in close combat.
As we figured that out.
There were some people in the last edition who tried to assure me that as long as I was in close combat, I got a 4+ invulnerable save against any attacks. It's not true. It's just against close combat attacks.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of your acrobatic skill can't help you too much when you blow up a tank in your face and it sends hot fuel everywhere.
Yeah, that's the witches can still take haywire grenades. At the cost of 2 points a money. They come with plasma grenades, base now, which is pretty nice. And they're initiative 6, a lot of attacks.
No longer goes first against anything.
And a favorite upgrade for the Hecatrix, in addition to her Agonizer, is to give her a blast pistol, which is the new lance weapon for those who might not have known.
Pistol.
It's a lance pistol, strength 8, AP2 pistol. So you got to get close to use it. It's range 6, but it's still a lance weapon.
It's still what the fuck, that Lehman Rush thinks of a pistol.
It's really nice. And then move on to some fast attack units. Hellion Skyboarders.
Snatching open people.
I've seen a lot of lists, when the book first came out, with the special character, the Baron, who allows you to take these guys as troop choices. I saw a lot of lists that were like 50 Hellions and stuff like that, and just these absurd amounts of Hellion Skyboarders.
Well, the big thing they can do now is if you have an independent character and they're not doing so well against a close combat, they can take your independent character away out of that squad and beat the ever-living piss out of them, which is pretty scary, to be honest.
They've got combat drugs. They're witches on boards, pretty much, is basically what they are. They've got instead of having a splinter rifle in their Hellglaive now, they have a new weapon called the Splinter Pod, which is range 18, poison 4+, AP 5, assault 2. They still have Hellglaives, which are a 2-handed weapon that gives you an additional attack and gives you +1 strength on the turn you. Just +1 strength. So they're strength 4 always with their attacks, which is nice. And then the leader can now take a new weapon in addition to his choice of an Agonizer and all that. He can take a stun club, which is what he described as +1 strength. And on a turn in which you perform a hit and run move, on a 2+, you can pull an independent character out, drag him with you with your hit and run move, and then you get to fight around a combat against him in the next close combat phase. can be really nasty if that independent character is not necessarily one of the strongest. I can think of, let's say, pulling an ethereal out of a squad and watching him die.
Which,
like a little punk, or a poorly equipped Space Marine character, although, you know, I don't really see that much.
which luckily for guard players like me, if you'll notice, the only independent character we have is Lord Commissar. So
I'll pull him. I'll pull him out of the squad though if you feel. I'll give him a beacon.
not with initiative for you. I'm not feeling them.
And they're a good unit. They can take some interesting upgrades. I believe they can take one of them can take a heat lance on their board. Just check, see if I'm not putting.
Which while he's looking it up, it's a strength 6 melt lance weapon.
AP1 as well.
And once again, that's something that's pretty surprising. You don't want a fast attack troop. We're gonna get to that unit in a second. Also, the jet bikes can take them, which
the
scares me.
The Hellions actually can't. They can. The leader can just take a Phantasm grenade launcher, which is a nice upgrade for 20 points. It's defensive and offensive grenades, which is a fantastic upgrade for this army because close combat is so important. And then, as he was talking about, another fast attack choice, which I heard so much bitching about the day the Codex came out. The big thing was, why can't you take them as troop choices? And all you have to do is look at the Blade Vein special rule and realize why you're not allowed to take them as
If you had
troop
6
choices.
troop choices of these, there'd be no point in filling infantry against them.
It's pretty atrocious. Once again, the bikes are now they've defined them. They're now witches basically riding jet bikes, so they get combat drugs and all that. They can turbo boost 36, which is nice. And this helps them with their Blade Vein special rule. Any turn they turbo boost, they do D3 strength 4 AP nothing hits against a unit they pass over.
And that's per bike.
That's per bike. So if you have 10 bikes, that's 10 D3 strength 4 hits. Well, that's before you possibly give them cluster caltrops, which is up to 3 bikes can take cluster caltrops. Cluster caltrops are D6 strength 6 hits. And then you can give them a grab talon, which is D3 strength 4. But after you roll to wound, if a unit suffered unsafe wounds from it, you have to take a pinning check. I'm just in favor of 3 cluster caltrops for 3 D6 strength 6 hits, and then 7 D3 strength 4 hits.
Which, if you're a guard player, that's also known as command squad just got fucked.
When I tested out against his army and some other armies actually, because it's strength 4, so you can wound Marines pretty well. Just darting over. Now, this is another thing you have to realize too. Because they can only make this move while they're turbo boosting. They get a 3+ cover save when they do this.
Unless I say bring a Hydra.
Unless they have a flamethrower or something like that. But it makes the unit pretty durable as well. They're toughest 4. And they can have feel no pain because they have combat drugs.
But they're wearing thong and bikini like the rest of the army.
Well, they have a 5+ armor save because they're mounted on a bike, but
not quite as good as the Space Marine, 3+.
Well, nothing can be quite as good as
power armor
as that. And they're skilled riders, so they get to reroll failed dangerous terrain checks. And for 22 points a model, they dropped them 3 points. It used to be 25 points a model. They're really good. They probably dropped them in points though because they lost strength. But the strength bonus before was represented by what is now the Blade Veins rule, which honestly I can say that the loss of the extra strength in close combat is definitely worth the Blade Veins rule. So it's an excellent unit.